Hey folks, this is the Maineprepper. Today we're going to be replacing some of the hardware on my SAIGA 12. I've already taken the stock off, and that's a video I think that I've just showed. Now, we're going to get to this in a second, and I'm going to show safing the weapon. But before I do, I want to talk a little bit about the stock that's going on. I got this from a company called Tactical Deals, and I got them off of Amazon.com, and I think I'll throw a link up at the bottom. I like this company already. First of all, the product's good, and the pricing was as well. But more than that, they stood behind their product. When we get to the four-rail, I'll show you there were some parts that came with it that, although they're fine, they weren't the ones that came, at least that were in the advertisement when I bought the entire system. So I let them know, hey, this is different, and they said, no problem, keep the old ones, and we're sending you the new ones. I like that. That's great business, because it was maybe 15 bucks in addition to what they'd already sent me. But you know, when a customer's happy, they'll tell 100 people, or in my case, I'm telling about 7,000, and if they're not happy, they'll tell 100, or in my case, 7,000. All right, so I'm happy. I very much like this. This not only comes with a 6-position adjustable stock in here, very similar to what you would have on your AR type weapon, but also the pistol grip, which is removable, and the stock are very hard type of a polymer resin. The great thing about this, though, when you're shooting a shotgun, especially a 12 gauge, there's a lot of kick, and this is what's called the Kick Light recoil suppression system, and this I like very much. It's integrated on there. It's on there very well. It's very sturdy. There's also a sling point where you can attach sling at this junction. I usually put one a little bit closer to the weapon, but I may go with this. So this is a really nice piece of gear. I'll cover the whole thing and give you the price for everything that went in it once you see, but I think just this piece alone is about 35, 40 bucks. And I think it's a good piece of gear, and that's from Tactical Deals again. And I got that off Amazon. All right, we're going to remove the stock. And before we do anything with any weapon, we always assume that it's loaded, and we're going to do safe handling, and we're going to first unload and clear and check the weapon. So I'm assuming the weapon's loaded, even though I, quote, know that it's not. First thing you want to do before you pick up the weapon, you just want to look at its condition. It's in safe mode. That's good. You want to leave it in safe mode for just a second. On the Kalashnikov series of weapons, this is fire, which is down. This is safe. On the automatic versions, which you have to have a federal stamp to get, or some things you find when you're downrange, there are 3 positions. One is fire and one is full auto. Okay, but this is safe, and safe is this way. With it on safe, you cannot pull the bolt to the rear. All right, the bolt will hit this safety catch lever. Before we do anything, though, so we're not going to pull the bolt to the rear. Before you try to pull the bolt to the rear or touch anything else, once you know the weapon's on safe, you're going to want to take the magazine out. The magazine on the Kalashnikov series is an intuitive type. The magazine release is. It has a thumb release button here, which don't push it with your thumb. I encourage you to grab and just let part of your thumb and part of the palm of your hand get it. Don't do finite skills whenever you're working with your weapon, because when you're under pressure, you're going to miss. Grab, and the lever goes down. If you'll notice where my thumb went, the lever pushed forward, which allows the magazine to release. Now it rotates down and out. That's because there is a lip on the front. In order to load, it's simply a reverse of that process. And you stick in and rotate up, in and up, okay? In and up. And you'll hear it lock down. You'll feel it lock down if you can't hear it. Right, magazine out, and the magazine is empty, but that doesn't mean the weapon necessarily is. Now, the weapon is on safe. I cannot pull the bolt to the rear. Whenever you're pulling the bolt to the rear by the cocking lever or the operating lever on the outside, you want to make sure, AK, thumb away. Don't put your hand like this overhand, because you will catch on this lever here. You will catch. This has a nasty, nasty curled edge. You may be able to get an upgrade if you want, but it's not a good habit to grab overhand, grab underhand when you do it. Now some people will grab the weapon, and I'll do this sometimes overhand. I always try to keep my trigger hand in the same place on the weapon. So I will grab overhand like this. I will never grab overhand with my thumb against the weapon, but you can learn the hard way, like I did, if you try. First thing, push this lever, the firing selector lever, down to the fire position. Do not put your finger on the trigger at any time. All right, you will have a negligent discharge if you do, and probably kill someone you didn't mean to. With the lever on fire, I can then pull the bolt to the rear. And the bolt is the part of the weapon that extracts the round as well as feeds another one. There's a video, and you can go there and it'll show you the operation of a Kalashnikov. It's a cutaway, and you have a good idea. To save this, I pull all the way to the rear, and I do a 4-point check. I look on the face of the bolt to make sure a bullet, or in this case a shotgun shell, is not stuck to the face of the bolt. I look inside the magazine well. Obviously, I can see that there's no magazine in here. I look inside the chamber. And fourthly, I look for a round having been expended or spent case shot to the side, pulled out, extracted. And that means that there was still a round in the weapon. And that's a good thing to remember, especially if it was somebody's weapon they left laying around and told you it was empty. Now that I know that all 4 conditions are false, that is, there's nothing, nothing, I am good to go. The weapon is officially safe. I want to ride the bolt forward, and we're good. Put the weapon back on safe. Now let's talk about the screws. There are 4 screws on this weapon. I'm getting hard. This is really getting hard to hold at this angle. 3 screws, and there's one here, and I've taken these screws out. There's one here, there is one here, and there is one up inside the weapon where this dust cover is protected. I have backed the screws out all the way, so there's one on top here, there's one on the bottom here, and you can get to these 2 on the outside of the weapon. There's a 3rd screw on the inside. To get to that, we need to take the dust cover out. If you look carefully on this dust cover, there is a safety type button. That is a button that's going to keep you from accidentally pushing this all the way forward and releasing the dust cover while you are firing. So what you have to do is a little bit of monkeying around. You have to push this down with your thumb and push this up inside. And it wants to jump out of your hand because the spring is really tight. Once I get this all the way up inside, I can then lift up the dust cover like so and remove it. The dust cover on the front, you can see it has a very thin, sharp edge, and it mates up very well inside here when it's time to put this back on. Okay, it goes right inside of there, but it's a little tricky to put on. We'll show that later when we put the weapon together. But for now, take this and set it aside. You will then find, and I've already backed the screw out just so that you'll see, you'll find our 3rd screw inside here, which you must back out with a flathead screwdriver. Once this is backed out, we now have to pull the stock off. It does not simply want to come out. You're going to have to get something to pry with. A flathead screwdriver works very well for that purpose. Okay, and I'm not really worried about boogering up the stock. And don't be afraid on your weapon to put a scratch on it. You're going to use it anyway, okay? The weapons I have are all using type weapons. And you can see how I just sort of wallow this back and forth until I get some traction. And it wants to fight you the whole way, and that's fine. That's actually a good thing. That means this stock was in there good. Voila, the stock is off. I'll put the screws back in it, and I'll put this into storage. I don't want to lose the stock, even though it's a cheapie. Let me show you the stock. The stock, first of all, it's hollow. It has removable butt pad on here. There is no pad right now. If you're going to keep the standard stock, I recommend you at least get a slip-on butt pad. I'm very big about shooter comfort as well as shooter safety. If this weapon hurts you to shoot it, you're going to flinch when you shoot it, and you're not going to hit your target. Shotguns do have to be aimed, by the way, contrary to popular belief. Here is the sling swivel keeper. It's also removable with a flathead screwdriver, although I have no need to use this, but it's here as a spare part if I need. on the bottom there is a removable plate. And my first thought was that there would be a rod or a screw, which sometimes some of the Mossbergs have a screw that holds the stock on. Here, they don't have these external screws. That is not the case with this. You don't need to take this off for removal. By the way, and FYI, this is what's referred to as a Monte Carlo type stock. You'll see this curved pistol grip here. This is very similar to the old flintlock type pistols, as you notice. It has a stock. I'm a very big believer on all your weapons to have a stock. A collapsible stock is nice, or a folding stock if you prefer. But a stock, that helps you with aiming. Other than pistols, the only thing that I don't recommend a stock for is a pistol, and that's it. Everything else I recommend a full stock with some sort of a pistol grip. This is a nice sporty sort of combination. I prefer the full-on pistol grip like the kind I'm going to install. I do not recommend a pistol grip alone for a shotgun, and I have a lot of people tell me, well, you know, they can't maneuver in the house with it. Get a folder if that's a concern. But I'm going to show you when we get into our CQB type videos how and why having a stock is actually not a problem, and why it is actually a bonus, because you will want to aim your shotgun. I guarantee you, if you're shooting at something more than 20 feet away, you're going to need to aim a little bit, and you're also going to have better control on the weapon with a stock. A pistol grip alone is almost impossible to shoot a target at 100 yards and hit. You're going to hold the shotgun up too close to your face. It's going to jump back and smack you in the mouth. All right, but that's my opinion on the pistol grip, and I'm going to show you the one we put on here in the next videos. But this screw, you have to take off this dust cover. And this dust cover has a detent pin at the top, which you have to push down with your thumb as you're pushing it forward. Okay, it's a little bit of a safety thing so that this dust cover does not come off while you're shooting. And then the dust cover is free and clear. The next thing you would have to do is take and push this lever forward, and you can remove the spring and set it aside. I always leave the bolt in here. It's a little bit difficult to put together if you're not used to it, so leave your bolt forward. And that's how you could get to the third screw. The good news is with the replacement stock, you don't have to put this third internal screw in there. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to put this back together. This spring goes inside of right there. You can see that recessed groove that's cut into the bolt itself. And I'm going to next push forward, and this piece fits in just like that. All right, now we're good to go. I can next put the dust cover on. The dust cover is a little bit difficult at times and a little bit non-intuitive. All right, there we go, like so. Okay, now that that's back together, we can put the stock on. The stock is very easy. Before you do this, I recommend that you take the stock completely apart and pay close attention to where these screws went. The first screw that you're going to see is this one that's exposed here at the top. And it comes with an Allen wrench in the kit, which is nice. I like when a company doesn't presume that you own every tool in the world or that you have every tool with you where you are. Here in the barracks, I don't have all my tools. I have a huge tool set at home, lots of tools. And I like buying tools, but I don't want to buy more and more and more and more of the same thing. It just seems to be a little bit of a waste. Okay. Now I want you to pay very close attention because these screws are all different in size and configuration. So what we'll do is we'll look at this screw, and this is going to go up here at the top, just like for the top of the weapon. Now on the bottom I have this one that goes and holds the pistol grip in place. Take this, same size Allen wrench, and it's a longer screw. This comes apart. It's two pieces on there, and you can see inside there is a lever. And this is all the same polymer plastic. This fits on over this piece here. This does not come off. That's solid molded in. All right, and then, so this screw goes into the bottom. If you want to help yourself remember, you can put it here like this. There we go. Now we know where that screw went. And then the last screw goes here. This one's a little bit tighter, so I'm going to have to get a little torque on it. These two screws on the top go into aluminum. The screw on the handle itself, the pistol grip, went into the polymer resin that this is constructed of. All right. And then this screw, which is completely different, you'll notice, in its configuration to the one that goes in the top. So, the top screw is the shorter of the two. The bottom screw has the rounded head as well. All right, keep that in mind because you cannot just put any screw anywhere you want. Next, I'll take this out and off of here. This is made out of an aluminum rod and it's very sturdy. So I find it's easier to put this on without this piece in place. Since the weapon's already been made safe, all I have to do now is slide this piece inside the rear of the shotgun. And I may need to give it a tap. Instead of using a hammer, I'm just going to tap with my hand. Okay? Now it's lined up and I can start putting everything back together. First thing I want to do is put this rod and piece back in. If it's easier for you to grab, you can extend this out, but I find it's easier to work with when it's shortened up. Okay, and I want to line up these holes like so. The first screw I'm going to put in is going to be this top screw. That's the easiest one to get to. I always go for the easy one first. Take the easy shot first, put the easy screw in first if you can. Now what you don't want to do when you're putting multiple screws into a piece of gear is to screw them all the way down tight. Because if you're not completely lined up on the other side, you're going to put yourself in a wedge. And it's not just fitting through the stock hole, it's also getting this lined up just right into that piece of aluminum. Because if I put that into the aluminum wrong, it's going to booger the threads up. So I want to have a look at that and make sure that that's level and square, which it is, before I start tightening it down. Now this is going in very easy, and that tells me I've got everything lined up just where I want it. That's perfect. I love it when things come together. And now the top screw. Tighten it all the way down. And finally, the pistol grip. Almost as fast as the Bionic Man. All right, folks, and that is the stock, and it extends out 6 position. I like that so far. Now we're going to get to the hand guards in the next video. Thanks for tuning in, folks. This has been the Maineprepper. When you come back, we're going to take off the fore end. We're going to talk about the fore end before we do.